Okay, so at long last, we have the review for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So there's a little bit of a backstory. I don't know if I told this in a previous review, but I had actually gone to the movies to see this film. Like, this review was supposed to be done months ago, and then 45 minutes into it, the entire movie theater lost power. So I never got to see the rest of it, and it's a really long movie, so, with everything going on, I didn't have the time to go back and take a look at it. So I've been kind of wanting to get this one off my chest for a while, and now that I have seen it, I don't know what the fuck to say about it. I mean, holy shit. I have no idea what to make of this movie, and in a way, that's actually a really big compliment, because this movie is so weird, so different, so unique, so just fucking out there, that it's a marvel to me that it actually got made. It's a freaking miracle to me that this movie, I can't imagine that this was very far from the director and writer's initial vision, because I don't know what they would have left out or what didn't make it in, except maybe stuff being cut for time. So the simple fact that this movie even exists in this form to be pondered over and to be found incredibly confusing by me is quite the testament to it. So yeah, that in and of itself is an accomplishment. So for that reason alone, this movie gets a lot of praise from me, that it was able to get made in this form, and that it was released as a mainstream film. This isn't some indie darling. This is, a big budget film that a major studio put out. That just does not happen a lot, especially these days. These days, something like this would be kind of for streaming only services or something like that, because of just how esoteric and just kind of out there, and not a lot of, it's hard to kind of get mainstream with this one. And I think that's also been true of the various responses that I've heard to it. I haven't read any real reviews, but I've seen people online, and people are either totally in love with this movie or they really hate it. And I can totally understand how you can come down in either one of those camps, because on the one hand, there's a lot to love about this movie. It is incredibly fun and quirky. It is a movie that alternates between emotional tone at like the literal blink of an eye. You can go from a heartfelt scene between a mother and daughter the 1 second, to a scene where the mother and daughter are now rocks communicating with subtitles the next. It alternates between taking being very serious about its subject matter, and at the same time not taking itself very seriously at all. It's the sign of good science fiction, which is what this is. Good science fiction should be able to teach you something about the human condition while simultaneously entertaining you, making you laugh, making you think. And this movie does that, and does it very well. Not to mention the fact that you just have an outstanding cast that are playing, all of them are playing multiple versions of themselves from multiple universes. And several actors have to go in the blink of an eye from playing, the gentleman playing the husband, whose real name I don't recall, so I don't want to mess it up, but like, he goes from playing a, quirky, put upon, kind of downtrodden husband in one scene, and then take a breath and he's a kick-ass martial arts badass, come with me if you want to live guy the next. And I can tell you, having been on stage and having to do that, not those two characters specifically, but having to change from one character to the next in like 2 seconds, and all you get is a time to take your one jacket off and change your posture, that is not easy to do. And this cast does it, all of them do it supremely well. But of course, this is Michelle Yeoh's, this is her film. And have we talked about how awesome Michelle Yeoh is? Have we done that? Have we talked about just what a fucking force of nature she is? Because if we haven't, then we need to, because damn, what a treasure she is. And what a fucking brilliant actor, badass martial artist, just, and a presence. She has that stage and screen presence that when she is on the screen, you cannot help but give her everything you've got, because you know she is giving you everything she's got in every single scene. She never slacks. She never takes a breath. It is always turned up to 11 every single time. And I think Michelle Yeoh is just freaking incredible. You know, no jokes, no puns. She just kicks all of the ass. And while we're talking about kicking ass, let's talk about the actual fight choreography in this, which is freaking insane. Which you knew it was gonna be with the people involved, but still, you're not quite ready for the sheer creativity. And you know, the martial arts, along with the themes and the tones of this movie, alternate so quickly, somewhere between you know, the best Jackie Chan Jet Li movie to something around Saints Row 4, if you've ever played that. If you told me that the writers and directors of this movie were big Saints Row video game fans, I would not be surprised in the slightest, because this film has a huge Saints Row undertone and sense of humor to it. I also think that from a science fiction fantasy perspective, as I mentioned, it does what a good one of those films should do, and it connects all of this craziness, all of this hard to follow sci-fi, all of this weird logic, all of it. It links it back to a relatable human center, with themes of family, of understanding, of, you know, choices you make, and how those can inform the choices you're gonna make, and, you know, not to take the little choices for granted, not to just because one path seems glamorous doesn't necessarily mean it is. You know, there's just a lot of good, solid theme work that are all played out logically throughout the film. And again, it's when the film works at its best, it's when those moments and those elements are really played up and given the full screen time to play. And you really, alongside with, you know, the fighting with dildos and the, you know, fight between Michelle Yeoh and one guy and two guys with fucking basically with butt plugs up their asses. Where else would you put it? Anyway, you know, there is a real human center to this, which ties it all together and makes it work. And I like that. I like that a lot. So there is a lot to like in this movie. However, if you are in the camp that didn't like this movie, I can totally understand that too. Because there's a lot about this movie that I just... Oh, God, there are some things about this film that just really fucking irritate me. Number one, and I've complained about this a lot, people are going to say I have a short attention span, but, you know, this movie is... This movie is not that long, but it feels long. This movie is only 2 hours and 19 minutes, which in today's, you know, landscape, that is not an inordinate amount of time. That's not an unreasonable length for a film like this. But it feels like 3 hours. It drags a lot. And where it falls down and where it spends a lot of its time, especially in the first act, is a lot of explaining of what's going on, a lot of, you know, having to explain the technology and the logic and this and that and that and this. Basically then so they can just throw all lot, so we can all say, okay, here's the logic of how this works. So in Act 2, we can just say, fuck logic, shit's just gonna happen. But you understand how it's happening. And I just don't think they needed that much time and that much explanation, and that it drags on. And where the movie really gets bad is when it tries to be a Matrix clone. And it tries to be a Matrix clone a lot in the form of our villain, who turns out, this isn't a spoiler, I think it's revealed right away, turns out to be Michelle Yeoh's daughter, whom she's having trouble with. And all through the movie, the villainous daughter is just, all of her lines are these fucking philosophical, ponderings of this and that, and it's all meaning, all this overwritten, overdone, overblown, and they try to mask it with humor. She explains how being everywhere, how everything everywhere all at once is like having an everything bagel, and the whole metaphor of the bagel, and she has a weird hairstyle that looks like a bagel, and they worship a giant bagel in space. Okay, they try to make it humorous, but it doesn't take away from the fact that a lot of this is just really fucking irritating, pseudo-philosophical bullshit, which just takes too long, is too overblown, and too up its own ass. Again, one of my big arguments against The Matrix is it's just so up its own ass with its own philosophy that, it spends so much time talking about how deep it is that, it just comes off as, a freshman college student after taking their first psychology class or philosophy class. And now this movie has so much stuff in it that's easy to get buried behind the dildo fights and the awesome martial arts, and it does have more of a human center than The Matrix did, in my opinion. But it doesn't change the fact that it is there, and it is it's a lot of the movie, and it just gets tiring. One of the evil daughter's philosophies is that, even when things go right, eventually something's going to go wrong. And it's like, nobody ever makes the point where it's like, so you're expecting a life or a universe where nothing ever goes wrong for you ever? Well, good fucking luck there. The Rock universe is the only one that really can be, can be said to have that. But yeah, so, and yeah, it's a movie that wants you to embrace the weirdness, but at the same time wants to explain to you how the weirdness works. And I think that's very difficult to pull off. It's not that you can't pull it off, it's that it's very difficult. You either just need to kind of go all technical with it like The Matrix, or you need to go all Doctor Strange and just say, multiverses exist. We can travel between them. Boom. Done. I think sometimes that helps. So yeah, whichever area you fall on in this one, I understand. If you liked it, if you loved this movie and thought it was the greatest thing that you've seen, I can certainly understand that. It is definitely the most unique movie I've seen in a long, long, long time. If it just confused you and was too weird and too out there, I get that too. So where do I fall? Well, let's talk about that when I talk about the final grade. So final grade, after all this time for Everything Everywhere All at Once, I have to go solidly in the center on this one, and I gotta go a B. I'm gonna be generous and just say a solid B. Just say a solid B on this one. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I like this movie or not. After my best friend and I got done watching it, we both kind of looked at the DVD and was like, who wants it? And we're like, I don't fucking know if I'm ever going to watch this again. But there's enough in it that I respect and that I think was good, that I can't fail it. But I don't know if I liked it or had a really great time with it, outside of, just marveling at some of the weirdness and how this thing even got made. So, I don't know. But I think maybe the highest praise I can give this movie is an argument for film as art. When you're not just trying to fulfill a balance sheet, you're not just trying to fill out your summer blockbuster and planning your cinematic universe and doing, you know, sequel baiting and all of that. When you're just making a movie and you're allowed just to kind of go as big and as weird and as, you know, fucking crazy as you want with it, sometimes you get something that's going to spurn conversation. And this movie is one that I feel spurns conversation. And I think that is a good thing. So that's kind of my last word on it for now. This one might be one I revisit later on down the road, rewatch it, and kind of go, okay, what do I think of this now that I've had time to process? But the best advice I can give you is with everything, watch it yourself, tell me what you think. So there you have it, long-awaited review for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, so I think that's probably going to be the last catch-up review we do for the summer. So thank you for coming along. Thank you for touring my home state with me. And we'll be back with some new stuff here soon. So as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.